Okay, this is module 2, right? Now we're gonna do the same. I want you to try to understand the architecture and then write about it, explain your understanding. We use words and images to show our understanding. Okay. This module, we're gonna talk about residential and religious space. We can do the same thing, right? We're gonna gather information, right? We're gonna read. I provide just one reading that is compulsory. It's you have to, you must read, right? And then we're gonna do a history of basic space of human, residential, a house, and religious, like a temple, a church, right? That's the two basic space. Okay. Residential to reside, right? It's a basic function of human, to live somewhere, to have a protection, right? And so the basic element of architecture, probably the roof or the wall that protected the place that you can sleep, eat, right? Relax at night. Okay. The other space is the space for worship. When you feel safe physically, somehow humans have this particular, miracle of mind, right? And we create the environment, we manipulate environment to serve our psychological or our spiritual requirement, our spiritual activities, right? Let's use the keyword worshiping, right? So to recite and to worship, to live and to play, let's say, okay? So this model, I want you to identify the, the changing of houses and temple. Let me put it in a simple way. Last model, we identify your favorite building, right? And you wrote about it, how it developed, how similar building in the same theme developed in the history. In this module, we're going to focus on the human activity, two human activities, to live and to worship, right? And then based on your pattern of data, I want you to formulate a historical idea. How did you see a house and a temple developed along the period? I have actually 5 periods, right? The ancient time mean prehistoric, ancient mean Mesopotamian, Egyptians, right? Agency, the ancient Near East, the pre-Greek civilization, right? Like in Knossos, that's what we call the ancient time. You might involve prehistoric shelter or prehistoric place of worship to add to your essay is okay. And then we talk about Greek Roman, which is the classical, and then medieval Gothic, right? Renaissance to neoclassicism, and the key change in the history of architecture, the industrial revolutions. Okay, and the last one, I would like you to focus on the 20th centuries or contemporary, talking about 20th, 21st century until today. That the period that you should cover. And then the final is to write about these historical development. Okay. This is our working schedule, right? This is today. We are discussing about the module 2. You probably got the assignments on the reading, right? I would like you to select the key idea, the key principle, or how as a logic of explaining your architecture, your timeline. When I say timeline, I mean, the way you arrange your data from prehistory until today. That's the timeline, and everybody have to do one timeline. Okay, that's for today. I'm a take the this is for today, right? And the second part, the submission of the timeline was on the 28th of February. You have to complete your timeline by the 28th. Meantime, on the 26th, I think we're gonna do the reading, right? You have to submit the reading first. Okay. This was my plan, but I'm consider based on your performance from last module, I think I should extend the working period a bit, right? First, you read. Second, you gathering data. The third, we draft the idea of essay. We do the feedback, correcting the sequence of writing, wordings, and then the final presentation. For this module, I want you to tell me probably 1 minute presentation, okay, about your idea, your understanding. I don't want much of the information that could be read in your essay. I want you to tell your understanding in 1 minute. Okay, your very idea. This module is 20% of the total. Module 1 was only 15, okay? So today is stage 1. You have to read to get theoretical background of how human manipulates the environment to serve the two purposes, right? The residential and the religious, okay? The basic idea of this module is that architecture related to human activities. You know the term architecture of space, right? In the house, in the school, in the building, everywhere, there are areas. And on that area, you can do activities. And in a certain area, we do certain activities. For example, sleep. Okay, we sleep on a certain area. We call that bedroom, right? We eat in the dining room, or we eat in the living room. In the kitchen, we cook, right? Or we eat in the kitchen. It's also possible, right? And sometimes in a house, in one space, human do more activities in that, right? I want you to try to understand how basic human activities like sleeping, we've been sleeping in the same way since the prehistory, but how the environment, how the space for sleeping had changed. Okay. Also the religious as well, right? Okay, and that is for today, right? The task is you go and review the article that I sent in a Google Classroom, right? Selected your idea and copy. Now you can copy verbatim with reference. Tell me which page it comes from. Use the Google Doc that provided, right? And then based on that idea that you choose, try to use that logic and select the example of building, of houses, of temple that fit the theoretical idea, right? And make a timeline. The timeline is in the Google Sheet, also provided in the Google, in the assignments, right? My suggestion is that if you focus on particular activities and particular part of the building, it might be easier, much easier than you talking about a whole house. You might talk about only a bedroom or kitchen, or living room, gathering guest room, right? In the temple, you might talk about the altar or the space where the visitor, the mass, the pilgrim come to worship. Or you might talk about in trance. You might talk about some other activity that the priest perform, maybe the reading, the library in that temple, right? It depends. You choose this and make a theme. Choose this first before go and search for the building. Otherwise, if you search temple in Gothic period, Google will feed similar information to you. And if you think based on Google feeding information, your essay gonna be similar. And sometimes Google did not provide a good example. You have to ask the right question to Google in order to get good information. Okay. I think that is for this week, for the next 2 weeks. Okay, for the next 2 weeks.